Good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. I hope everybody's feeling incredible this morning. My name is Haziq Ali. I'm a revenue acceleration coach. I'm a self-esteem development fanatic, starting with my own. And our whole goal is to help you go further faster with less effort. Do me a favor right now and give me a replay, gang, if you're watching the replay. Make sure you enroll in the Kaizen Academy. This week we're doing part 2 of prospects on demand. So all we're talking about is how to build rapport. I'm gonna give you 4 principles for it today, but how to build rapport. And if you're watching this at some point in the future, then it's in the Kaizen Academy archives at this point. So when you join the academy, you will get access to that class. It is part 2 of a course we call Prospects on Demand. How to create prospects who are ready to buy virtually anywhere, anytime, in any kind of prospect. And that's a 3-part class we did. Like last week, we did the first one, which is how to find the prospects that are ready to go. Second class is how to build rapport really, really quickly. And then the third class is how to set appointments. So I hope everybody's ready for that. Good morning, millionaires. What's up, Samaya? Good morning, Queen. Glad you made it in. Patreon. Good morning, Queen. Let's get it. Let them know where you're from, Yuli. Let them know we in the house. I hope everybody's feeling incredible this morning. This is going to be a good one to share with any entrepreneurs you know. Make sure you like this joint, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe so we in the house together from now on. I, my friends, am about to call in on the winner's hotline. Let's get it.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place at the right time. Because we're going to bring the millionaire out of you.
Just hold on. Let's get it, baby. All right, we
Thank you.
Let them know your city, y'all. Let's go.
Help other people out.
All participants are muted.
I love how they always rocking on the
Entry and exit tones are off.
I love our community in general. You know, they asked Warren Buffett one time. They said, Mr. Buffett, yo, if you lost it all and you had to start over right away, what would you do? What's the first thing you would do if you needed to get it all back? He didn't even blink. He said the first thing he would do is join a community where his desired behavior was their normal behavior. He said the first thing he would do is join a community where his desired behavior was their normal behavior. What I'm saying is you probably want to consider joining a community that's going to normalize the stuff that you know leads to your success. Right now, chances are you hang out with a bunch of people to make you feel like the outlier. You, as a member of Millionaire Minded, are probably the most ambitious person in your circle. You're probably the leader. You're probably the one that tries everything first. You're probably the one that's reading the books and tells everybody else about it. You're the one that finds a documentary and tells everybody else about it. Am I right? You're the one that finds that podcast and lets everybody else know about it. You're a giver. And so the universe continues to give to you versus being a taker, which means the universe continues to take, unfortunately. So I'm really proud that you guys are here. What I want you to know this morning, since what we do here is we study the science of entrepreneurship, I want you to know that everybody's brain is similar. Listen, everything on the planet is similar. Like your DNA, according to science, is only 6% different from a banana, right? So everything that we see is similar. But check it out though. Your brain is very similar to everybody else's brain. And everybody's brain has 2 different processing centers. One is the emotional side, and one is the rational side. Now, the emotional brain is old, y'all. The emotional brain developed millions of years ago. It's prehistoric, right? And it's all these raw instincts like fight or flight or hide, right? All animals have this. You ever notice that? All animals have an instinct that'll make them fight or run away or hide. And then, obviously there's the more complex human emotions, right? Like anger, aggression, desire, lust, hatred, passion, love, disgust, sympathy, on and on and on, right? That's all the emotional side. But then you got the rational side. Now, the rational side is even older. We're talking about something that developed tens of thousands of years ago. You hear me? You hear me? The emotional side is older, where it was millions of years ago, but this rational side is the one that's more, I said it was older. What I mean to say is that the rational side is the one that's more powerful, but way more underutilized, right? This is the part of the brain that's more deliberate. Stay with me. This is the part of the brain that analyzes, that studies, that thinks about the future consequences of a certain action you're about to take. And what psychologists know about decision making is that when the rational and the emotional work together, you're unstoppable. This is where you start to see people who are self-motivated. Remember, I said the highest form of emotional intelligence is the fifth level, where you're able to motivate yourself to feel like doing something, right? When the emotional and the rational side work together, you're unstoppable. Now, when they're battling each other, you know what side normally wins, y'all? When the emotional and the rational side are battling, what side y'all think wins? Let me see it in the comments. Let me see if y'all are with me. If the emotional side of your brain is battling with the rational side, according to psychologists, what side do you think wins typically? What side do you think typically wins? Yeah, Ashley, that's exactly right. The emotional side. The emotional side is typically going to win if the two got a battle. The reason I'm sharing all this with you is that the consequences for knowing how to sell are profound, and it all starts with building rapport. The fundamental question, y'all, of whether somebody likes you or doesn't drives a big part of your income if you're an entrepreneur. Do you recognize that? Especially if you're smaller in your entrepreneurial journey, if you're still like at that small beginning stage. You may eventually grow your company to the point that no one even cares about your personality anymore because you're some CEO in some back office nobody ever meets. But right now, I'm going to tell you something. This is what's deciding how your sales go. It's whether people like you or not. Building rapport leads to some critical outcomes, y'all. People talk to people they like. People share information with people they like. People buy things from people they like. People feel loyalty to people they like. People introduce people they like. Somebody give it to me in the comments right now. Rapport is 80% of the sale. Rapport is 80% of the sale. Back in the early 2010s, you know, they did this study, and they did a survey of the general public, right? Check it out. They were like, what percentage of people are trustworthy? And people thought to themselves and they said, about 30%. But then check this out, y'all. They said, what percentage of the people you know are trustworthy? Like, what percent of your friends are trustworthy? You know what people said? They said 70%. Somebody say rapport is 80% of the sale, and then give me a share. Rapport is 80% of this, and then share this with somebody. Rapport is 80% of it. Do y'all get what I'm saying? If I ask you what percentage of people are trustworthy in the general public, you say 30%. If I ask you what percentage of your friends, your associates, the people in your phone, the people you know, what percentage of them are trustworthy, you say 70%. What am I saying? I'm saying simply knowing somebody leads to trust. We all know, just subconsciously, just intuitively, we all understand how important trust is when it comes to selling, right? But basic familiarity is a little bit different than building trust. You got me? Knowing and liking. That's going to be a lot more powerful than you just being familiar with somebody, right? It's the knowing and the liking part that sets the stage for all the sales that are about to come afterwards. Everybody with me? So if you want to build rapport with your customers, I know there was a long intro, but this is really important because this is what our Kaizen Academy is about this weekend. Millionaires, if you want to build rapport with customers, there are 4 principles that are going to change everything for you. Empathy, authenticity, similarity, and shared experience. I don't expect you to remember all of those, but I'm about to give them to you, so I hope you're ready. Here's number 1. Cultivate empathy by getting customers to talk about themselves. Somebody say, get them to talk about themselves, and give me a share. I got a question for you. What gives your brain just as much pleasure as food and money? What's the answer? Talking about yourself. I ain't lying, y'all. Harvard did a study in their neuroscience department. They did like this series of kind of like behavior experiments. And what they figured out was that for the average human, talking about yourself feels so rewarding, right down to the brain cells, right down to the synapse, that people can't help but share details about themselves. If you can get people talking about themselves, you've made some progress. If you can show them you're actually listening to them, oh man, they're going to be strongly inclined to like you. You hear me? What you develop in principle of rapport number 1 is called empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of somebody else. If you want to understand another person, 1, get them talking about themselves, and then 2, demonstrate your listening. Everybody with me? 1, get them talking. 2, show you're listening. Can somebody type that in and give me a share if that is helpful to you? 1, get them listening. 2, show them you're listening. Here's the second principle I got for you. Demonstrate authenticity by being yourself. By being yourself. Everybody with me? Demonstrate authenticity by being yourself. What do I mean? Most people like a listener, right? But very few people like a faker. Anybody who comes across as fake, anybody who comes across as phony, they might as well open the person's brain up and push the dislike button, right? You got to be real, right? People like people who are genuine. You with me? I got 2 different secrets for you if you want to be more genuine with people, right? I got 2 more secrets. The first one is smile slower. Somebody say smile slower, and then give me a share. Smile slower. There's actual research, y'all, from scientists who study nonverbal behavior. And what they've discovered is that when you smile slower, when you seem to ease your way into it, you develop a stronger sense of authenticity. Oh, got the hiccups. Somebody say smile slower. Here's the second one for you. Don't overdo it. Relax. Don't overdo it. If you're being over friendly and you're just being like, what's them little packets of fake sugar that be on the table when you go in the diner? Not equal. Anyway, y'all get what I'm saying. If you're being all just super saccharine sweet and all of that, it's gonna fall flat. So relax, smile slower, and don't overdo it. All right, let's move on to the third principle: similarity. Yeah, Splenda. Thank you, everybody. Similarity is the third principle of rapport. Similarity. Find a similarity with your customer then that puts y'all on a level playing field. People like them, right? People like people who like them, but people also like people who are like them. You got me? Like equals like. So that's rapport principle number 3, similarity. The more you can find common ground with somebody, the more likely it is y'all are going to develop genuine rapport with each other. They've shown a whole lot of psychological studies, y'all, that like people like names better when they're similar to theirs. People prefer brands that share their same initials. They prefer people that move the way they move. Okay, but what can we do to apply this? What can we do to kind of make the similarity principle work for us? Well, your goal then is to find interests and things in your background that are in common. Anything that you can find and use to form a deeper connection, right? Anybody who's ever shared a favorite TV show, like if we both talking about, they put Lord of the Rings on Netflix, right? Which I've never seen, but somehow I don't know how I know that information. You know what I mean? But just imagine, instantly let's say we're both in China, now I'm from Atlanta and you're from Montana. Okay. But when we get to China, guess what? We neighbors. All of a sudden we neighbors. Now, if I'm in Atlanta with a bunch of Atlanta people and you from Montana, okay, we kind of like strangers. But if we both in China, it's like neighbor, high five, right? Because all of a sudden, our background is shared because we're both from America, right? I mean, anybody you share a favorite sport with, You know anybody you share a favorite author with? I hope you do. Pity the man that got a favorite restaurant but ain't got a favorite author. My business partner be saying that, right? You know anybody that has kids the same age? You know anybody that shares hobbies, right? So forth and so on. Then you know what it feels like to have connection with somebody just because of that one similarity. Can I get a witness? You know, another way to practice the similarity principle is to mirror a customer's basic behaviors. Like if they speak slowly, they likely prefer other people that talk slowly too. If they speak quickly, then you should talk the same way. They lean forward, you should lean forward, so forth and so on. The idea here ain't to mimic somebody. You're not a clown, you're not a mime, right? But what you're trying to do is kind of like interact like them, right? You're just interacting in the ways that they like to interact. You're just getting into a zone where you're describing things the way they like to describe them. You're using some of the same vocabulary words. You're generally as relaxed or urgent as they are. You got me? Here's the fourth one I got for you. Yeah. That's exactly right, Renee. That's exactly right, Renee. All right, here's the fourth one I got for you. Fourth principle of rapport is a shared experience. What can you do to create a shared experience that can help you connect with that client? This is going to sound like a crazy example, right? But everybody loves intestinal meat, right? Who don't love a little intestines? I mean, it's so popular, right? It's springing up on menus everywhere. You know, you go to the coolest restaurants and here's some hookah and here's some intestinal meat, right? All the kids just begging for it, right? No, of course not. But there's a wild study they did back in the day that I don't know. You might find yourself questioning whether it would really be that hard to get everybody eating intestinal meat. This is way back in like the 1940s. They set up a psychology study and they had two different groups of housewives kind of come together, right? And they did the first group differently than they did the second group. The first group, they just lectured them on all the benefits, all the reasons for eating intestinal meat, right? They also applied a lot of social pressure to them. They made it so that, you know, oh, if you eat meat, then you're helping the country. They played on their sense of patriotism, right? They even brought in other people to talk about how much they loved eating intestinal meat. They gave the homemakers in group number one different recipes they could try. But you know what the second group did? The second group just participated in what they call a facilitated discussion. Watch this. What the study leaders did in that second group is they just asked the homemakers, how do y'all think we should persuade people about intestinal meat? How should we bring it to people the benefits of eating intestinal meat? How can we make it so people want to bring this to their families? They talked it out. They role played the conversations. They shared ideas. The results were crazy, mind blowing. 32% of the group that collaborated went on to serve intestinal meat in their family homes. Of that first group, they got lectured and talked to, and they brought people in telling their stories about it. Only 3% of that group did it. In the second group, 32%, almost a third of them went home and served the meat. In the first group, listen to me, 3%, y'all, 3%. People who are talked at don't feel connected. That's the moral of the story, right? People who are involved in a process, they're always going to feel more powerful. Remember yesterday we spent all that time talking to you about the power to prescribe, the power to prescribe. Millionaires, this is how you create it. You create it with rapport. People who are actively involved in a process, people who are actively interacting, they develop a stronger liking than people who are just getting talked at, right? They develop a sense of psychological ownership over what they're working on. That's principle number 4, a shared experience. If you're selling, millionaires, you can create a shared experience with your customer by making everything collaborative. You got me? You want to collaborate with the customer. Can somebody write that? Collaborate with the customers. What do I mean? I mean, now you're defining the problem using the customer's words. Now A second way to do it is you're crafting a solution alongside the customer. You're brainstorming together. You're co-creating value, right? Right? Here's the third one. Maybe you put together a strategy that presents the solution to the rest of the customer's team, right? But y'all did that together. Working together to come up with the right terms. Yeah, y'all love me talking about intestinal meat. D Money, the one that understand what we was talking about. D Money love him some chitterlings. You know what I mean? I just figured I'd call it what it actually is. But all I'm saying, y'all, is when you collaborate with the client, they're more likely to like you. They're more likely to take action on whatever advice you give it. They're more likely to buy something from you. Plus, it's also true that if you simply just spend time with people, I'm talking about dinner. We know that's the highest level of communication, breaking bread with somebody, right? But drinking coffee, having events, y'all's liking for each other, y'all's natural affinity for each other is gonna grow. So I hope this was helpful, y'all. Scale of 1 to 10, how helpful was this? If you want to build rapport, if you want to increase your influence with customers, interact with them, create shared experience, right? But also, remember, rapport is the foundation for building relationships. Sellers, professionals, servant leaders who have great relationships, they're usually going to have great success. So as you're building rapport with customers, think of it less as a mechanical kind of activity and more as an investment you're making in building a relationship, an investment that you're making in another human being. And to build rapport with customers, these are the 4 principles you want to focus on. Empathy, where you're curious, you're listening, you care, because nobody cares how much you know till they know how much you care. The second principle is authenticity. Be real. People call it a beauty mark. You got me? Your scars, your wounds, and the stories behind them make you way more likable than pretending you're perfect. The third principle is similarity. We like people who like us, but we also like people who are just like us. And then the fourth principle is shared experience. Interact, collaborate, build it together, and they will come. Scale of 1 to 10, how did this feel? Make sure you follow me on social media. Make sure you get it in. I love you all. And remember, either your mind has to expand to match your goals, or your goals will just start to shrink to match your mind. It's affirmation time, y'all. Let's get it. Repeat after me. Say it like you mean it. Repeat after me. Say it like you mean it. Don't forget this weekend's Kaizen Academy is all about rapport. If this was helpful to you, then this is the time to join the academy. Good. My man Charlie Smith made it in. I love that. Okay, we getting a lot of 10s in here. I love it. My man Zabe gave it a 10. Renee gave it a 10. That's what I'm talking about. It's affirmation time, y'all. Let's get it. 667-776-9461. 667-776-WIN1. Win-1. My man E1 made it in. Win-1. Yeah, my man Charlie made it in. Let's go. 667-776-WIN1. Let's get it. All right, repeat after me, millionaires. Say it like you mean it too. Take your cool off. Let's get it. I am so happy